Hey, welcome on in to Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. As we come to you on this Monday afternoon, I'm Joe Roderick, joined alongside by Mike Claiborne. And Claibs, it's Hall of Fame week. Congratulations, as you will be honored this coming weekend going into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you. I'll be amongst a number of people being honored. Larry Hughes, Jack Watkins from Missouri Valley Conference, Andy Van Slyke, to name a few. So I'm honored. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing people I haven't seen in a while. I think I get 3 minutes to talk, and I'll try and make the most of that. In the meantime, festivities begin, I believe, on Thursday with some of my oldest friends in life. We're going to do something. My significance doing something on Saturday, and then of course the event on Sunday afternoon. So I'm looking forward to having a good weekend. It's been a real highlight of what's going on, and just to touch on it for a second. Speaking of highlights, for those who didn't see Cam or listen to KMOX on Friday, I was going in to fill in for Carol Daniel and Bo Matthews, who were both out. And Ryan Recker had given us the show plan, the whole 9 yards. And so we get to the noon hour, and he says, well, we're going to call an audible. So all of a sudden it becomes a This Is Your Life for the Missouri Sports Hall of Famer, Mike Claiborne. And when Rammer walked in the studio, I was like, uh-oh, they got me. So between Rammer and Kelly Chase, Fast Daddies, Mike Martz, Jay Randolph, Mike Shannon, John Rooney, Ricky Horton, Rita Hoff West, one of the greatest female athletes in the area. To hear all those people call in and wish me well, I got a real kick out of. So it's been a highlight. The whole year has been, but it's winding up, and we'll have some fun this weekend for sure. And I know you're going to be part of it, and some of our other friends. So all I say is be able to work on short rest.
I can't believe I know everybody is getting 3 minutes. Knowing you and getting to know you over the last 2 years, I don't know how you would put those last 2 years into 3 minutes, let alone your entire career. So speak fast.
I'm gonna go along the line of trying to thank people and recognize them. I think I've got maybe 10 tables worth of friends and family that'll be there, including yourself. Again, we're just going to show up. I want to try to figure it out, but it's been a blast.
We will. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure, later on in the show. We're also waiting to be joined by a new Gold Glove center fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, Harrison Bader, as we expect him to jump on with us here soon, as that was kind of the big story of the day. We knew a few weeks ago the Cardinals had 6 Gold Glove finalists, and 5 of them ended up taking home the honor. The only one that didn't was Yadier Molina, as he and JT Realmuto lost out to Jacob Stallings of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And it's the first. I was actually surprised when I saw the stat come across that it was the first time ever that 5 from one team won a Gold Glove. Just because I thought they had done it in the last 20 years. I thought the infield of Renteria and Roland and Pujols, and I guess who would have been the second baseman during that season, but I thought won a Gold Glove with I guess it would have been Molina and Edmonds, along with Renteria, Roland, and Pujols. I thought those 5 had done it at some point, but I guess not all in the same season.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by it as well, and I go back. I think it was a 64, 65 All-Star game where the Cardinals' whole infield was on the All-Star team, which is different than Gold Glove. But then I started thinking about other teams that all had it working together at the same time, and nothing stood out. It was always 3 guys, maybe 4, but I don't think we ever envisioned this many. And probably the guy who's on the Mount Rushmore Gold Gloves for the Cardinals, Yadier Molina, didn't make it. And kudos to Jacob Stallings. A guy who his dad, Kevin Stallings from Collinsville, longtime college basketball coach. I remember when he was first called up, and you can see the improvement in his game because Tucker Barnhart was the guy who won it last year. I didn't know if Yachty had his best season behind the plate, but the young guys have obviously patterned their games after him. And congratulations to Jacob. which means Yachty will probably be gunning to win it on his way out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that's not motivation, not only for him, but also maybe some motivation for Dylan Carlson too, the one outfielder that didn't win it, who in his rookie year last year, it wasn't like he was a slouch kicking the ball around out there, had 8 outfield assists and filled in very admirably in center field during the time that Harrison Bader was hurt. So you would think, hopefully, there's a future Gold Glove for Dylan Carlson in his future.
Well, I think there is. I don't think there's any question that he'll win one. But it takes time. I mean, you think about Bader and how long it took for he and O'Neal. But once you get in the system of winning, it's hard to be overrun by it. So let's keep our fingers crossed. And, for Tommy Edman, which I was so happy for, he only played a little over 100 games at second base. But he was really good, man. He was really good at what he was able to do. I mean, when you think about second baseman with the throwing arms on the relay, Tommy Edman threw out a lot of guys at the plate, on the relay. And I think that had a lot to do with it. His range was impeccable. But it also is a tip of the cap to the coaching staff. Stubby Clapp, Pop Warner, Ali Marmol, guys who came out every day. Willie McGee came out every day and hit balls at these guys. And, while we don't like to really acknowledge it, scouting had a lot to do with it for Tommy Edman with regard to where to play guys, with whether it was the shift or playing guys in short right field. I think scouting and positioning had a lot to do with the success of a lot of these guys this year.
Yeah, and we and speaking of that coaching staff, the other big news that came out of this weekend is that Skip Schumacher is going to join the coaching staff as Ali Marmol's new bench coach, coming from the Padres organization over to St. Louis. We know that Skip was in the running. Not sure how serious or how much he was talked to about the managerial opening here in St. Louis, but he comes back home and now he'll be the right-hand man for Ali Marmol in his first season.
Well, Skip Schumacher is one of my 5 favorite all-time Cardinals, not only as a player, but as a person. And it's my understanding he passed up on this job the first time the bench job was offered. So somebody obviously talked to him. And I think more than anything else, the fact that Skip's going to be away from his family in California, being a bench coach is a very challenging position. And you got to be the right guy. And he just did it with San Diego. The difference is he's closer to home. So it'll be something that he'll have to deal with. I think he's a good choice. My 3 choices were Skip, Stubby Clapp, Carlos Beltran. No specific order. I thought all 3 of those guys would have been more than competent in doing it. Stubby's going to be a manager before too long anyway. So it's just a matter of time. And I really think it's time for Carlos Beltran to be back in the game, considering everybody else who was involved in the Houston scandal in uniform is back working somewhere. And when you think about front office, Jeff Luhnow probably won't work in baseball as a manager anymore. But I think Carlos Beltran, for all the things he's done on and off the field as a player, certainly deserves the opportunity to be back in the game.
The one thing with Skip Schumacher, and I know it's not him. This is what I'm about to say has nothing to do with Skip taking that bench job. I do think that what you're going to get is a fan base now who loves Skip Schumacher, loves the player that Skip Schumacher was and everything that he meant to very successful Cardinal teams back in the day, now sitting there. And he's going to be seen as a backup quarterback in the NFL, to where he's everybody's favorite, next man up, next manager of the team, to where if Marmol makes one bad decision, if one, the closer gives up a game the first week of the season, you're going to immediately get some of the best fans in baseball calling for Skip to take over as the manager of the team. It's inevitable. Yeah. And I'm not saying I don't like the hire of Skip Schumacher. I just know that it's going to, what it's going to lead to. And that's not something that you want to have to deal with.
No, that's a good point you make. And I think that what we have to look at here is making sure those 2 are on the same page. You don't want to have a manager that's looking over his shoulder. And I kind of think that might have took place in San Diego with Jace Tingler. Inexperienced guy, was kind of feeling the heat. Skip was a former player. And maybe he didn't give Skip the voice that he really deserved to have being the bench coach. But, I think that's a different situation than what we're going to have here. There's going to be great support from upstairs. Players all know him and respect him. So, and Skip doesn't have to prove himself to anyone as far as what his resume says. So I'm looking forward to the union.
So that was one of the spots that needed to be filled. The assistant hitting coach spot also became available last week, as you alluded to during the show on Monday, as Jobel Jimenez has just actually taken, it just announced about an hour ago, took a special assistant job with the Angels in their minor league system. Any idea who fills that role? Any thoughts? Do they go outside like they did for Skip, or is that something of promotion within?
Good question. I think Ryan Ludwig is going to be a candidate. Former player, works in the organization as a rover. That might be an interesting scenario. I think it also has a lot to do with whoever has a relationship with Jeff Albert and has a comfort level of sharing his hitting philosophies. I think that's going to be important too. So I would say stay tuned on that, because there are some guys internally that might fit the bill. The challenge that they have is they have no big league experience. So you have to be careful there with regard to not being on a big league roster as a coach or as an instructor, let alone being an assistant hitting coach. That might prove to be just a little bit of a challenge.
We are 6 days removed from the World Series coming to an end last week in Houston, with the Atlanta Braves winning in 6 games over the Astros. And since then, you have already seen quite a bit of movement in the offseason for baseball. You saw the Reds. The Reds are already making moves that'll make you scratch your head and wonder why buy Reds tickets for next year if you're a fan there in Cincinnati. And you see the Cardinals earlier today signed TJ McFarland to a one-year deal. I feel like this is more movement than we've gotten in recent off seasons, and I wonder how much that has to do with the upcoming collective bargaining agreements.
That's a good question, and I think you're onto something. I was having a conversation with somebody this morning about that very thing, because the one thing players don't want to do, and we saw it a couple of years ago, you remember how everything was so slow and players didn't sign until right before the start of spring training. We're going to have a lockout, okay? We don't know how long it's going to be. But if they take it up to the beginning of spring training, that means we're following the same scenario. I think there are enough players who understand what their worth is and would rather have the bird in the hand instead of 2 in the bush. And if you're looking for a short-term deal, you can probably get it now compared to trying to wait this thing out until after the lockout takes place. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some other guys do that because they know their worth. And when you're talking about middle relief guys, there's no reason to drag this thing on. He is who he is. You know what you're going to pay him. He expects to be paid that, and you move on.
And it's a 1-year deal for a left-handed reliever who revitalized his career in the second half of the season with St. Louis last year. On both sides, the Cardinals want him back to continue to do what he did for the entire second half. And I think TJ McFarland understands that he did it here in St. Louis. Why change that? Why go somewhere else and try to do that when you can just, again, he knows what he's worth. He knows what they're going to pay him or what the market is. For maybe an extra $100,000, it might not be worth it to keep going out there and drag it out any further. How far into, I guess, the winter do you see the lockout happening?
Who knows? It's kind of an inactive time, especially around Christmas. I think we'll get more of an idea. The general manager meetings commence this week, so they'll kind of formulate a game plan on how they're going to do things. But, everyone I've talked to, and I've talked to people on both sides of this, don't feel like this thing is going to drag into the season where somebody's going to miss a game check or somebody isn't going to get enough work in spring training. They understand what's available. They know what's going on. Harrison Bader just notified me he'll be with us in about 5 minutes or so. And I just think they have to go out and just act according to plan and not get caught up in the rhetoric. I think the best thing they can do is not negotiate through the media, which they've done a pretty good job at. They can't make it personal. And you have to understand they're coming off of a pandemic, and a lot of players don't even know what the lockout's about as far as arriving at a collective bargaining agreement. But, if you can do all those things, solve the time, a pace of play, add the DH, maybe insert or dilute a couple of rules, and make sure you get this the arbitration eligibility thing and making sure players are properly compensated, I think you can get a deal done. Now, the one thing I'd like to see them do, because the game is really diminished when it comes to veteran players, guys who can come off the bench and do things. I think when it comes to the luxury tax, that signing of that player, maybe it's an $8 million deal. Who knows? But that shouldn't count against anything because of the fact that, we need veterans in the game. We don't want to overpay them, don't want to underpay them, but we want to pay them something that's fair. So I hope they can find a way to incorporate more usage of veteran players, hence the reason younger players can have a little bit more time to develop. So when they do get here, they can stay here because they're ready to go.
The veteran players, as you mentioned that, quite a few of them have received qualifying offers from their clubs. It's that time of the year. No, the Cardinals did not extend a qualifying offer to anyone on their roster this year, but some of the names of note: Freddie Freeman, Nick Castellanos, Trevor Story, Carlos Correa, Justin Verlander, Corey Seager, Chris Taylor, Noah Syndergaard, Brandon Belt, Robbie Ray, and Marcus Semien. And I don't know. So right now, if the Cardinals were to go out and sign one of those players, they would lose a draft pick and they would also lose money, I believe, for the international pool, right? For that. Will any of those rules change through this CBA?
Don't know. It seems like it reasonably works. I think they like to have a little bit more control over how the international market is developed. And, they're not draftable players, they're free agents. So I think they'd like to tweak that a little bit, but I don't see it affecting it very much. There's a price to pay. I think you see it in other sports when a guy moves on, there's some sort of compensation of, a minimal resort. But I think that this is a rule that reasonably works for what they're looking for.
As the winter rolls on, we'll
and also, Joe, the other thing it also does, it encourages organizational development of players by having an additional pick that would be reasonably high. It encourages you to build from within compared to running around and signing free agents all the time.
Yeah, we have not seen the Cardinals go after any of those qualified players in the past who have received a qualifying offer. So if you know anything about the Cardinals, once they kind of stick to something like that, it's not something you're really going to see them do. So I think
this could be a little different. I think here's why.
Trevor Story is the only one on that list that jumps. I mean, Verlander I like the idea of Verlander on a 1-year deal with in a rotation with Wainwright throwing to Yachty.
See, I like the Seager. If I could sign Corey Seager to a 3-year, $58 million deal, I'd do that. Because, when you start talking about the long-term deals, I think that's where teams really start to back off. So I would look at something along that line, and then it also gives Seager a chance to get back in line and make even more money down the road. I would look at short-term deals on that front if you're going to sign free agents. Now, excuse me, having said that, they haven't been very good at signing free agent pitchers. So maybe we stay away from pitchers and maybe you try and trade for a pitcher. You've got some assets that you can move. Maybe if you look for a third rotation spot guy, maybe you won't have to give up as much. Maybe somebody's looking for a third baseman or a shortstop with a little power. I mean, you've got some options there. So I think in that situation, they may mix and match a little bit. But I also want to include Kyle Schwarber in that discussion as far as acquisitions. You got to do something about a left-handed bat. Schwarber's hitting over 900 OPS, a guy that fills a lot of voids for you. Not necessarily at first base. I think we saw doing postseason first base, not one of his strong positions. But you can stick him in the outfield. You can DH him. He's your third catcher. I mean, remember, he was drafted as a catcher. So you've got some options here with a guy like that. So what's it going to cost? I don't know. Maybe Schwarber's looking for a 3-year deal also. I think it depends on age and just what you're looking to have. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of guys go for shorter deals this upcoming offseason.
Plenty of offseason talk here to come on claibsonline.com as you are watching Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura, and also sponsored by Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. You can find him online at thehomeloanexpert.com. Last week, we were out at Munganess St. Louis, or Munganess Alton Toyota, for our show there. No, that was 2 weeks ago. We were out there. And then the week before we were in Alton again. Plenty of cars coming onto the lot. As Jamie told us, they do have 2022s on their way. If you are interested in a 2022 from either St. Louis Acura or Alton Toyota, I recommend, though, you give them a call, you email them, you do whatever you need to do to get in touch with Jamie over there at Munganess and let him know what you're interested in, because even though those 2022s are coming to the lot, they are leaving the lot just as fast. So make sure you get your place in line over there at Munganess St. Louis Acura and Munganess Alton Toyota, two of the great sponsors here at claibsonline.com. We have plenty of stuff coming up here on the show. Harrison Bader set to join us in a matter of moments. We have our NFL picks, or I should say our football picks from this past weekend as well, along with a lot of NFL and NCAA talk to get to here on the show. But we will take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more of Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com.
Every day, Ameren, Illinois works to deliver reliable energy throughout the state to on-the-go families, in-the-know grandparents, and busy students. But did you know we also have ways to manage your energy? Paperless billing, outage notifications, pick a due date, auto pay, and so much more. So no matter who you are or how you use your energy, there's an option that's right for you. Learn more at amerenillinois.com/options.
Hey, we're back here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com, and we are happy to be joined by the new Cardinal Gold Glove winning center fielder. He is Harrison Bader. Harrison, what's going on?
Nothing much, just in between workouts. I'm glad I caught you guys. How we doing?
Well, we're glad we caught you, and again, congratulations, man. Something you and I talked a lot about during the season, and we knew this day was going to come. So give me your reaction once you got the news, because you got it well before last night, I'm sure. So give me your thoughts on what went through your mind after you got the news.
Nah, I really was just so happy. Part of me was choking up a little bit and, in some tears, because it really has been a goal of mine to lock down this individual award. Part of it was just excitement. And then the other side was just kind of getting ready to go out there and win it again. I just, I don't take it lightly at all. I know how many talented players are in this league, not even just in my position, just everywhere. So to be a part of, obviously the one I won, but a team with 5 Gold Gloves, I mean, it's incredible. So I'm so happy, and I'm just going to enjoy it until the start of the season. I'll refocus and do my best to win another one.
When did you hear that you had 4 teammates that also won it?
For this show's sake, the night that they were announced. Yeah, I heard it for the first time last night.
Yeah, that look of surprise. Oh my goodness, yeah, really?
Didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
What about I heard from 2 guys who were, I think, as giddy about you winning the Gold Glove as you were, and that was Willie McGee and Tommy Pham. I talked to both of them yesterday, and they were like proud parents, family members. And because they knew this was something you were capable of winning. What's it like for people who have been with you from day one? What did you have a chance to think about the impact they've had on you and your development? You had to go out and do it, but those guys kind of gave you a roadmap on how to get there.
No doubt. I mean, you said it best right there, Claibs. I mean, it's so humbling. Guys taking time out of their schedules just to congratulate me, taking a second to send that message. It means the absolute world to me. It really does. You mentioned these guys creating a roadmap for me. Willie's known me since A-ball, AA, Pham. I mean, me and him go way back, as you know, Mike. So, again, just a guy in both of them that I just want to emulate mentally, and the way they go about their business, how humble they are off the field, how much confidence they have in their own game and their own ability to succeed for their team. That's exactly what I want to be surrounded with. So to have guys like Willie and Fam reach out to me, show their love, I mean, it means the absolute world to me. Those guys have been big brothers to me ever since pretty much I stepped in pro ball. So it's definitely a team effort. I'm very proud to bring it home for those guys like that.
Hey, Harrison, for you had a Gold Glove season as far as highlights are concerned. Was there one play you made during the season and you said to yourself, if that doesn't win a Gold Glove, then it'll never win?
I think the dive I made against I think Nico Horner hit a short pop-up into center field, and I kind of came in at a funky angle, and it was just kind of ones that just hung up there just enough, and when I dove, my glove kind of turned over itself, and I somehow held on, and I ran a really long way for it. I think I covered just around 100 feet for it. So, if you're making plays like that, reeling it in, like you said, man, if that's not going to win it, then, well, I'm laying it out there best I can. But I think that one stood out the most for me.
And outside of that, another one against the Cubs that I think you'll remember forever is the double play that you somehow got yourself into the rundown at the end of it, too. Not really a Gold Glove play, but one that's going to stick with you, right?
No doubt about it. I mean, if there's anywhere on a baseball field I do not belong, it is on the infield on defense. I'll tell you that. So the fact that I even touched the ball that close to home plate on defense, it's still crazy to me. I'm just happy I didn't launch the ball over Nolan's head into the seat. So that was a special one for sure. Yeah.
My favorite part of that too, you can see Tyler O'Neill in the background. He just kind of takes his hat off and tucks it into his arm and just kind of sits there and watches it and just hangs out.
Yeah, exactly. You actually take some notes from him. He understands what he does well and when he should not be involved in a defensive play. So I think next time maybe I might back off, but I got my one put out on dirt, and that's good enough for me.
Know your role is what we like to say. Hey,
Right.
You wore some great gloves, and now you got your headgear too. Let's give a shout out to the people who are sponsoring you on your glove and your headgear this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Claibs, I appreciate that, brother. Bruce Bolt, great people, family-run company. They just do a really good job of creating just quality gear that lasts. And I'm obsessed with their products and everything about them. And as you could tell, I'm out here rocking it in between workouts up in New York. So
listen,
shout out to Bruce Bolt.
You continue to rock on, man. I'm sure that this award is going to be one of many for you. So keep doing what you're doing. I can't wait to hug you and shake your hand for this great opportunity, man. And just continue to enjoy this off season. Congratulations again, and we'll see you real soon. And thanks for joining us.
Yes, Claibs, thank you, baby. That means the world. I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, my brother. Take care.
Yes,
Thank you, Harrison.
All right, bye-bye.
There you go. That's Harrison Bader. He's the newest Cardinal Gold Glove winner. As you mentioned, I mean, that's just a history of Gold Gloves here all over the field for the Cardinals. But you think back, you mentioned Willie McGee, another guy that I know Harrison has done a lot of stuff with, Jim Edmonds, how many Gold Gloves he won here in St. Louis as well. And that's just a great honor for him and all the Cardinals to win 5 Gold Gloves.
Think about, let's go back to Terry Moore, Kurt Flood, Willie McGee, Jim Edmonds. I mean, we've had some pretty good Gold Glovers walk through the annals of St. Louis baseball. And when you think about those guys, and I'll even include a guy, he didn't win it, but he could have, in Bake McBride, who damn near hit 400 one year. We've had a great history of center fielders, and now Harrison Bader puts himself in that conversation, and he's got nothing but great games and careers in front of him. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we'll be making that an annual award for him as well.
Absolutely. See if they can break that and get to 6 at some point. As we mentioned, they're Yachty and Dylan Carlson, and heck, whoever they go out and get at shortstop next year. Just see if they can keep breaking that record. Hey, we are going to take a quick 15-second break. When we come back, shift gears over to football right here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe, sponsored by Ameren, Illinois, Munganast, St. Louis Acura, and this man.
The only thing faster than this supersonic golf cart are the closing times at thehomeloanexpert.com. Mortgage rates on the 2s, and we have a 21-day closing guarantee. Apply online today at thehomeloanexpert.com.
Claibs, this past weekend, I had a busy weekend. On Friday night, I went to the AEW Rampage. I know you interviewed Matt Seidel and Mark Henry on KMOX on Friday. First of all, how big a man is Mark Henry?
He's big enough where if he had a flat tire, he wouldn't need a jack to lift the car up. He's a big dude. He's got these massive hands. And come to find out, he and I had a couple of people we both knew he was asking about, and I put him in touch with one of them. Just a really good ambassador, but he's a big man. I used to have a saying, he's a guy that if he caught you with his wife and or girlfriend, you just say, here, let me shoot myself in the head before I let you put your hands on me. I mean, he's a massive guy. Mark Seidel and his brother Mike, two really good guys that I had a chance to know. I had a prior engagement that night, but I was going to go. So the next time they roll into town, I will be part of what they do.
I've never met Mark Henry, but I've interviewed him before, and he's one of my favorite wrestling interviews that I've ever done in my career. So I'm happy you got to have that and talk to those guys in studio. So, those are two good guys that they sent you there.
Here's the deal. I knew him. We used to have this thing in St. Louis called the Olympic Festival. And this is like a precursor to the Olympics for youth. And that's where he and I first met. And that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
And he said, man, we know each other. I was like, yeah. And he said, I was here for the Olympics. I said, yeah, I remember when you were a weightlifter. And so we hit it off great. Good guy. And that program that they have is really moving in the right direction. They know their target market. And they're having fun with it. And they got me on board. I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. And the fact that they're giving a lot back to wrestling with clinics, workshops, teaching young wrestlers the right way to do things, because you can get injured and you can be permanently injured in this field if you don't know what you're doing. So I appreciate what they're doing. And they're taking care of their own as far as making sure that these guys aren't just pawns in a career that will spit you out at the drop of a hat.
So you had that on Friday night. So I was at Chaffetz to see that on Friday, and my hair down and everything kind of maybe resembles some of the wrestlers that are out there. But then Saturday, I go to Luke Combs at Enterprise, and as I'm walking out of Luke Combs, I had someone stop me and say, "Hey, is that Aaron Rodgers?" And of all the weeks in my life to be compared to Aaron Rodgers,
this isn't the week.
This is not the time. I think any other time it would have been like, yeah, where do you want me to sign? But no, this week it was like, nope, not me. And just
you got the wrong guy.
Kept walking.
Which brings me to him. And I'm sure you may have seen some of the pregame shows yesterday. I really commend Terry Bradshaw. He just said, you lied, man. You're dishonest. And this is a game where when you're a leader and you're a recognizable player, the one thing you have to have is credibility. And he, in my opinion, has lost all credibility, not only because of him lying, but just the way he tried to circumvent the process. And you saw one of his sponsors walked away from him. I got to think State Farm can't be far away, because State Farm is an image-driven industry, insurance business. And to have a guy who's misleading people in that manner, I just don't think goes over well. So, I was never a big fan of the guy because of some other things I've heard about him. So in this situation, he can burn in hell as far as I'm concerned.
It's just from day one, it's from the line. He did the route that we saw so many people take was to say that's a personal question, or, it's a HIPAA violation, which it's not, but that they would go that route with it and try to avoid it. To where he was asked about it, and the first word out of his mouth was yes. Now you could say, if he would have just said he was immunized before that, and would have said that instead of saying the word yes, then you could say, you know what? Hey, he didn't give us a real answer. But the fact that he answered and said yes right off the bat, he misled everybody, and I mean, just hoped and prayed that something like this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and that's what I have a problem with. He never made eye contact with anybody. He knew what the question was about. And the Packers are culpable here, too, because they kind of let him do his own thing because they didn't want to piss Aaron off. The hell with him, man. He's got another year in his career. They're going to move on from him. I just think what he did was and it seems like every week the NFL has a black eye in some way, shape, or form whether it's Henry Ruggs III or Aaron Rodgers, or we've seen situations before this week, the Odell Beckham situation. So, this guy really stepped in it as far as I'm concerned. And my only hope was that the kid who replaced him yesterday would have had a better game, because they're going to move on from him anyway. That kid has some poise. He just didn't get some things done, but it's wrong. And hopefully, and there's no real punishment for him. All they can do is fine him. And the kind of money he makes, it's just like it's a very small percentage of his salary. So I don't know where we go from here, but like as I said before, I'm done with the guy.
I think I think if they want to win, which I imagine they do, they will play him whenever he's able to play the remainder of the season. And I think this is the last year we see Aaron Rodgers as a Green Bay Packer. I think next year he ends up, whether it be Denver or somewhere else, I think he ends his career in a different uniform.
Well, the other thing, that the way he tried to engineer his departure left a bad taste in people's mouths. And we're in an era now where players have the understanding of how to do it, whether it's James Harden. We've seen some other guys in other sports that have done it. It's something guys now figure they know how to get done, and they think they can get away with it. It's unfortunate, but that's a life we have now.
So this past week, we only had 4 games on our pick'em, as we do. We usually go about 4 or 5 between college and the NFL each and every week. And that was the Chiefs-Packers game, was one that I emailed out to you guys and sent out to you and the other 5 participants before the Aaron Rodgers news came out. And once that was out there, all 7 of us picked the Chiefs to win that game. Or I'm sorry, no, I don't think so. Actually, no, I'm wrong. I actually picked the Packers to still win that game. And Claibs, that's why I went 0-4 this weekend.
You kind of feeling the heat.
I left the door open, and you and Howard Richards just came bursting through, and now we have a 3-way tie at top, and not one of us is over 500.
That won't last long, because after this week, I'm going to dominate. We got to have more than 4 games. We need to have 5 or 7 games. For the sake of the segment that we give the picks out on Weekend Joe, I think 7 games is a little too much. Okay, let's make it 5.
So we have been making it 5. It's a matter of finding the games that are you expect to be close and competitive. And this week, I think when you look at some of those, I don't think anybody expected Bills and Jaguars to be a close game.
No, you're right.
There's a lot of games on there that you look at and you don't expect them to be. I want to find games that should end up within 3 points that are basically pick'ems, and that's what I try to do every week. So that's why we had 4 this week. I'll throw 5 on there.
Maybe we'll look for another college game.
And that's the only college game on there this week was Auburn at Texas A&M, where me, Brian Hoffman, and Ben Boyd all went with Auburn in that one. So the other 4 of you picked up a point there. There were 2 games on the schedule this week where all 7 of us picked the team that ended up losing. That was all. We all 7 picked the Bengals to beat the Browns, and all 7 of us picked the Rams to beat the Titans. And I think every time that happens, it goes the other way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and it's so unstable, the league. Or just football. I mean, we can look at the college games where we thought Alabama was going to blow LSU at least back to Birmingham. And you saw how tight that game was. And you saw Michigan State have a problem at Purdue. I'm not saying that we have a more balance of play. I just think it just tells you how bad teams are, where there's no real consistency. So I think that you can find a college game where you least expect that's going to come up and surprise some people. But this weekend was a disaster for both NFL and college football. By the way, did you see where the NCAA is shortening their manual now, where they're going to leave more things up to the universities? This is their only way of survival, because they know these Power 5 conferences are planning their exit strategy to get away from the NCAA. So this is their last-ditch effort to try and give them some sort of satisfaction. Because it's just a matter of time before they all just pack their bag and form their own alliance.
No, I hadn't seen that. When it came to college athletics this past week, I was way too invested in the story out of Texas, where their special teams coach, his stripper girlfriend, Pole Assassin, allowed her pet monkey to bite a trick or treater over the weekend.
I missed that. What coach was this?
How did you miss that? It was Jeff Brown, their special teams coach for Texas, who makes $1 million as a special teams coach.
Money. I think their strength and conditioning coach is making over $1 million.
Probably, but he was with Alabama. He was on Nick Saban's staff in Alabama. He left his wife and kids to
go with a stripper, huh?
To be with the stripper. Pole Assassin is the young woman's name.
I'm not sure if that's on her driver's license.
I don't. Maybe I'll check on that. But she has a pet monkey that is part of her act on stage that she keeps caged up in her backyard. Yes,
she's a stripper with a pet monkey on stage.
Yes, correct. The monkey is part of her act. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go down to Texas to see Pole Assassin perform, the monkey will be out on stage with her.
I want to just give you a little heads up. I will probably go to Texas again in my life.
Yeah.
But the chances of me seeing her Pole Assassin and her pet monkey.
Pole Assassin. Yeah.
Yeah. Pole Assassin.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. POLE.
Yes.
And her pet monkey, those chances are remote.
We'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can work.
I have no interest
on that happening. Another assassination in the polls, by the way, was what the College Football Playoff Committee did to Cincinnati by not putting them in the top 4 with the first rankings that came out. And you know what? I don't get that. I don't get how Alabama ends up being number 2 on that list.
Because if Alabama played Cincinnati tomorrow, it'd be over with. Here's what you have to take into account. Now, hear me out. I think they did Cincinnati a favor to keep Cincinnati's name out there and give them a chance to slip in if somebody slips. I don't care about what happens in this week of November, but let me tell you, if you are one of those top 4 teams and you slip, all of a sudden Cincinnati gets in, they're going to be there for good. So it's better to go in late than be part of the first poll. So I think the NCAA or the selection committee did themselves a favor. They created conversation. Look, they don't care if you're going to criticize them and take a shot at them because they didn't put them in. They want the conversation. They want the anticipation. They want to make sure that Cincinnati understands they need to win out to be in the tournament because let's face it, those 4 teams in front of them, somebody's going to stumble. It might be Alabama facing Georgia in the SEC championship. There may be some other scenarios that may come into play. And if Cincinnati runs a table, which they should, all of a sudden they're playing in the Final Four. And that's what they were here for.
Cincinnati probably could have helped their cause a little bit by beating Tulsa by a lot more than just
Tulane.
8 points.
Was it Tulane or Tulsa?
It was Tulane the week before. It was Tulsa this weekend, and then next weekend it's South Florida. They're down in South Florida.
That could be a trap game. Now I know South Florida's lost a lot of good players.
But they're 2-7 on the year. Yeah,
taking that road trip, you just never know. Because when you're a team like that, and the best example was LSU getting up for Alabama. When this is your season, this is your bowl game, you find a way to get yourself in a better position. So while Cincinnati's got a very interesting and impressive record because they're undefeated, I still think they're a team that teams feel like we can beat these guys because they haven't played anybody. And we just need to catch them, shorten the game, see what happens.
Now, I guess the biggest upset of the weekend was number 3 Michigan State losing to Purdue, and that's, as you mentioned, one of those teams need to slip up for Cincinnati to work their way up in the rankings, and that's one of those right there that now opens the door for a team like Cincinnati to move on up. It was really the NFL that we talked about the games that we picked. There were the most surprises of any of the results this weekend, and I think it starts with Bills-Jags. Not only the fact that the Jaguars won that game was that they held the Bills offense to only 6 points.
Yeah,
that was, I think, the most impressive. And then on the other side of things, the Titans lose Derrick Henry. And Titans are a very good team, but they lose Derrick Henry, and they're able to go to L.A. and knock off the Rams in prime time last night. I think that, and then
I think Dallas getting beat at home by Denver.
By a lot. Yeah, it was 14 points in the end, but it seemed like a heck of a lot more than that.
Yeah, no, you're right. But it was that kind of week, man. I mean, there was nobody, and that really shined that you expected to. So it's kind of like one of those weekends where maybe everybody pushes a reset button. You got games under your belt. You're halfway through your season. This could be an interesting run down the stretch. And now it's about staying healthy because everybody's seen you on film. Okay. They know what you can and what you can't do. So now this is a time of adjustment and how teams make those adjustments in order to contend, not just for the second half of the season, but for postseason, because that's going to be a different look also.
You mentioned the Odell Beckham Jr. situation in Cleveland. They came out and they whooped the Bengals in Cincinnati after what seemed like their season has been a bit of a roller coaster. Not sure where they fall in line in the AFC playoff race, but going in there and dominating Cincinnati the way they did, what's next for Odell Beckham? We know that the Browns have washed their hands of him. We know he'll officially become a free agent later this week unless somebody picks him up off waivers. But you saw that members of the Vikings were wearing free Odell shirts as they were warming up, which I don't understand. I guess the LSU connection is there for some of those receivers, but the way that this is all played out is it's fascinating to me because Odell Beckham, you know what? He and Baker Mayfield both just haven't been good. It wasn't just one side of it. It was both sides of it that were not good. And it was Odell that kind of put himself in a position to be let go.
But he's never been good. Either he's been hurt or he's complaining. And I don't, from a skill standpoint, he's got a lot of talent, okay? But he's been hurt. He bitches and moans when he doesn't get the ball. He doesn't block downfield. He pouts. He gets his old man involved. This is his third stop because he kind of did the same thing at LSU. He did it to Eli in New York, and now he's doing it to Mayfield in Cleveland. So if you're a team and you say to yourself, is this guy legit? Yeah, he can play, but is he worth the problems that come with it? I think he's kind of at a crossroads in his career because teams just don't have time for such foolishness. They just don't. There's too much at stake. And while he's got talent, man, all the other antics you just don't need at this time of the year.
I haven't looked yet. I'm checking actually right now to see. Because I'm not sure if there is a Manning cast tonight for the Steelers and Bears game. I haven't seen the guest list.
I don't know why there would be. That might be one of the most boring games we'll have on the schedule this year.
Yeah, so put a Manning cast on there and let people watch that instead of watching Monday Night Football. But have you seen the stat of the Manning cast curse?
No.
So all the way back during the first Manning cast earlier this season, they had Travis Kelce on in week 1. The Chiefs lost in week 2. Russell Wilson was also on. They lost in week 2. They had Gronk on. The Bucs lost. They had Matt Stafford on. The Rams lost. They had Tom Brady on. The Bucs lost again. You know who they had on last week in the Manning cast?
Who was that?
Josh Allen.
Wow. Yeah, I think I'd have the flu or laryngitis if they called me.
It's the new Madden curse. That's what it is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I'm excited just to see what who they put on that who they put on there next time.
I'll tell you, it'd only be fitting if they had Aaron Rodgers on. That way, and then I'm sure Packer fans would be like, no, don't get involved.
Wouldn't that have been something if they had Rodgers on and then the next day he tested positive and all that stuff came out? I mean, that would have been an ultimate curse.
Man,
from that. Right. I don't know what the relationship is between the Mannings and Aaron Rodgers.
Well, here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have relationships with other quarterbacks or other players.
Or family members.
Family members. He barely has relationships with receivers. You can call him misunderstood, whatever. This is a guy who's been a jerk ever since he got out of college. He was a jerk in college. Okay. And, he cried about the fact Brett Favre didn't treat him right. And I'm not a Brett Favre fan either. But I wonder how much Jordan Love can say Aaron Rodgers helped him. But enough of Aaron Rodgers. We spent too much time on that guy. What else do we have?
Well, we are going to take our final break. And when we come back, talk about the Blues West Coast road trip and wrap things up here on another edition of Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Ameren, Illinois. driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura and sponsored by Ryan Kelly, the home loan experts.
The 2021 Acura TLX is the top-selling luxury sedan in St. Louis, and St. Louis Acura has an unbeatable selection. The TLX has the highest safety rating, and right now you can get $2,500 in loyalty conquest offers with 0% financing for up to 36 months. We offer free pickup and delivery, and we'll also buy your used vehicle, even if you don't buy from us. St. Louis Acura, committed to becoming better than ever for you.
Wrapping things up here on another edition of Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. You're watching on our Twitter and Facebook page or our replay on the YouTube page. Also, the podcasts are available later on all of our podcast pages, whether you listen on Spotify, iTunes, or Google Podcasts. They're all right there wherever you download podcasts for your listening pleasure. The Blues, 4-game road trip out west. They are 3 games down. I know you were expecting a lot more out of them last week when we talked about this, but so far 3 points through 3 games. As this team is just getting ravaged with the COVID virus, causing players to miss games and really biting into the early season roster.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And just when you thought we got this COVID thing behind us, it's reared its ugly head again. And, I know people talked about there's no cap relief. You don't have much in the minors that can come up and help you. So you have to play with what you have. And that's why I look at this road trip. If you can get 2 points in Winnipeg, you know what? Let's just get out of here and lick our wounds and be ready to take this thing on when they come back for another homestand. It's been tough. And I don't think the league envisioned this scenario where they could have allowed a little cap relief. It would have taken one team to try and abuse that opportunity, but still in all, I just think it puts a real strain on teams. And it says a lot about your farm system in developing players. Blues are fortunate enough where they've had some guys step up and make a contribution, but there's some teams, if they get hit by the bug, man, they might as well just pack it in.
Yeah, we'll have 1 game left to see them out west, Winnipeg tomorrow night. And you mentioned some of the teams and the cap space and everything. I know you had the Ferrario face-off this past week. You, Alex Ferrario, were joined by Luke Korak as right as the big trade was made in the NHL this past week.
Yeah, Jack Eichel is a good player. I don't know how great he can be. He's dealing with a certain neck surgery, and he won't be available until maybe February or March. They gave up a lot for him. But as I was telling Lou, other than the 2 players they got, those draft choices are basically 3rd round and 4th round picks. Because if you think Vegas is going to be a good team, that means they're going to draft late in the 1st round or late in the draft, which means you're just getting some extra players, not necessarily that vaunted 1st round draft choice that everybody talks about that they feel is an impact player. Even if you're an impact player in the 1st round, you're normally not an impact player when you draft as late as maybe what Vegas could draft at. So I think it's one of those wait and see deals. The problem is Vegas is really strapped for talent now. They've got 2 solid lines. There's no question. The defense was okay. It was very good last year. It's just okay now because they've lost some players on the blue line. You don't have Marc-Andre Fleury. This is a team I think that's in a semi-crossroad with regard to where their future holds them, because if they get hurt, they don't have enough guys on 3rd and 4th lines that are difference makers like they used to. And that's going to be a problem for them as they get into postseason play.
So they, final game tomorrow night of this road trip before they're back home. You and Alex Ferrario set to meet later this week for another episode of the Ferrario Face-Off. Along with that, you and Howard Richards get together each and every week for Huddle Up with Howard. And tomorrow, the debut of a brand new show here on claibsonline.com. It's 2-man game. Bob Ramsey and Matt Rocchio talking not only college hoops, but NBA as well, as Rammer and the rest of the NCAA get their seasons underway this week.
Looking forward to that. Matt Rocchio is one of the most knowledgeable guys about basketball for his age. And I'll leave it at that. I really respect what he has to say. There are a few things he's still learning about, but he and Rammer will make a good combination, and I can't wait to hear him be part of what we do.
Yeah, and then SLU starts this week. I think I'm going to head down there on Friday. It was a tough ticket to get as SLU welcomes in Eastern Illinois, but I think I have the right connections to get in there for that game.
Well, you better get there early so you can get in there before game time with that crowd they're expecting.
Anything else? I know you got a busy week planned. It's Hall of Fame week for you, Mike Claiborne. Anything else planned for you this week?
No. Have some dinners with some favorite people of mine and spend some time with them. But we're just going to have to figure this out, and we'll have another surprise guest or two. Huddle Up with Howard and I. We're working on a couple of things there. So I would just suggest everybody just check in with us on a daily basis. You just never know what you're going to see or what you're going to hear on ClaibsOnline.com.
Well, he's Mike Claiborne, and this Sunday he will be a Missouri Sports Hall of Famer, officially a Missouri Sports Hall of Famer. Once again, Claibs, congratulations for that, and can't wait to see everything go down this weekend. Until then, keep checking in to everything we have here on ClaibsOnline.com. Content all week long, whether you follow us on social media or on our podcast pages. It's always right there for you here on Claibs Online. We want to thank our sponsors, Ameren, Illinois, Mungenast St. Louis Acura, and Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. Until next Monday, we will talk to you soon.